by show of a hand, how many of you have tried or heard or seen a Lime scooter or Lime bike? All right, that's quite a bit. Thank you. You probably wonder a little bit, right, that what we are doing, what are the things behind the scenes, why we started it to begin with. Bike share is an industry that's been around for, 100, 200 years, right? Why it matters, why it's a perfect time that we revamp it and to make an even bigger impact. So I'm gonna share a little bit more with you on that topic. And what we're trying to really address is to solve the future urban transportation and the traffic congestions, and also the pollution that comes with it. And I'd like to talk a little bit about how do we make the impossible possible. And this time that it is leveraging the technology, but more importantly is that we're taking a bet on humanity. That we're taking a bet that on humanity, not only just our users, but also the non-users, right? How we all together to push it forward and make it happen. So before we get into the details, let's take a look at some of the micro trend, right? Urbanization. That is a big trend that's happening today. The estimation is by 2050, there will be 60% of the entire population living in cities, the cities like we are living today. And we all know that the infrastructures that always come a little bit later than it should be, right? That every single time. And we're also looking at that, the traffic congestions, the pollution that comes with it is increasing, not decreasing. And I'm pretty sure everyone sitting here that are experience this on a daily basis and every city you live in. So what we can do about it, right? That is that, just we sit here and just seeing it happens and, knowing that it's getting even worse, right? And some will say that we have a solution, right? That's what we've been doing in the past few decades. Build more roads, build more highways, let's throw more car at it. And we've tried it, right? That does it work? We all know it doesn't work. We all know it's even making it worse, right? So what else we can do? And this is one of the things that we ask ourselves, right? Can we make our future urban living that's more livable, has more vibe, greener, healthier, less congested? Is there a pathway to it? If there is, what we can do today to make it happen? And here comes a little bit background of myself, right? I grew up in China, so I grew up with bikes. I get everywhere, that's my mode of transportation, right? Get everywhere on bikings. My commute to college was 4-hour ride, 2-hour one way and then 4-hour ride. I do that all the time. And even after I moved here, I still use bike as, one of my main transportation mode, right? Anytime, anywhere that I want to, as long as bikeable. The infrastructure question is still there, that I will take bikes. But is that unique only to China? China is known as the kingdom of bicycles, right? Millions of bikes all over the place. But some of the specs you may not know, that in the US, the per capita of the bike ownership is about 4x of the per capita of bike ownership in China. We all know how to bike. We all know how to use them, but we are not using it for a means of transportation means. We use it for recreational, which is totally fine, right? But can we leverage it more? Also, when we look at the other markets, cities and countries, right? Germany, bikes is one of the main transportation means. And Bogota and Sweden, Copenhagen, Amsterdam, you look at it all over the world. That is, alternative transportation is one of the main means of transportation. In statistic perspective, Amsterdam had 36% of their total traffic is on bikes and alternative means of transportations. And the number for Copenhagen is even higher, it's 41%. Then we look at the US, it's less than 1%. And we got to ask ourselves, right, what are the reasons? Is it weather in Copenhagen that's warmer than here? Is Amsterdam rains less than here? Do they have wider road? or the pavement just smoother over there? And the answer probably is no to any of that. So what is stopping us to adopt more greener, healthier ways of transportation? And we spent about 6 months doing the research and due diligence on the market, and we realized two things, right? The first is there's no viable product and services for the user that can conveniently get around on it and at a very affordable rate. And the second part of it is a culture. Really is a culture thing, right? The culture in terms of like car-centric, the culture in terms of like the association with some social stats. But in other countries, there's no such a perception, right? That bikes and alternative transportations is regardless of gender, age, social class, income, and where you live. So then we look at it, what we can do, right? When we get started with Lime, that many called us the crazy ones, and for some of the good reasons, right? First, that it will say, yep, we tried it. We have a lot of bike share programs here that we've been working on that for the last 10 years. They did, pioneer the industry. We have a lot of respect for that. But why it's not still widely adopted? Why that users are not, using it as on a daily, basis? We look into that. I tried it all over the places, and I realized a few things that, really stopping user from it. First, anyone of you tried bike shares or bike rentals, scooter rental in the past? Do you know you never be covered by insurance? Never. We pioneered the entire industry, and we're leading that by providing insurance to the users. That gives users the sense of safety, right? And that costs the city and the taxpayers tens of millions and decades to build. Yet they charge you more than an Uber ride. And that was the shocking point that they say, if we present the user, we wanted them like more, right? That we charge them more than an Uber ride. What does that make any sense? And also that if you ride longer, more than 30 minutes, you got fined. You ride further, you got fined. You cannot return to the dock, you got fined. How that system will work for the majority of the users that will use it on a daily basis. And then we look at the business model, right? And then many call us crazy ones. It never worked. The city has to subsidize tens of millions in order to make the work. That business will be not sustainable. Well, that's also what we believe in as well, that a user will willing to pay for the fair price if we provide a legit and really good user experience. It will really add value to that. And the last one is very interesting. When we launched the services, that many ask us, what about vandalism, right? What about missed parkings? Yeah, we did had bikes and scooters that end up on the trees and in the lakes and dumpsters, all the weird places you can think of, right? And however, what we should really focus on is what percentage it is. It's less than 1%. There's always the bad actors out there, but should we focus the negative energy on that part and amplify that, or should we focus on the value we created added for the 99% of the user base? And then we address the some of the concerns with technology, with collaborations with city and communities, and that is something that we took a leap of faith, betting on humanity. That part is not only to our users that we believe they will enjoy the service, we believe they will adopt it and pay for it, but that also is betting on even the non-users. Do they embrace it? Do they help us to really push forward in terms of how we can save the pollutions as well as reduce congestions? And that is the bet we take. I think we're not the only one, right? We're not the first one either. Airbnb took a leap of faith, that betting on the humanities, that and many other businesses has did, and so do I, so do we. We did on that. So what we have done in the last few months, well, actually, this is before that. The company is fairly young. We're 21 months old. We started the company in January last year, and we developed different modes of transportation to fit in the need of users, and also different terrains of the city and also communities, right? Not everyone into biking, as probably I do, but we recognize that. Some will need or appreciate electric assisted mode of transportation. Some will just be in shirts or skirts that do not feel bike is their thing. So we developed different modes of product and services to accommodate that. And then look at what we focus on, right? We call it 3 A's, not a triple A you have in mind. The three A's we really focused on is availability whenever, however, and wherever user needed. Accessibility. We created remote unlocking for the non-smartphone users. We created the first cash payment in the industry for the non-banking users. It's all about inclusive. It's all about mass majority rather than 1% of the people will use it. And we focus on affordability. And in MBA program, right, we always talk about skimming the cream, all that. We deliberately didn't do that. What we believe in is the broader base and the lower the rate. But we start with the lower rate to stimulate the broader base. So let's also take a look at what helped us to achieve so far. We launched the first market in June last year, and in the last 14, 15 month-ish, that we expanded into over 120 markets. The number is, thank you. And we went global, so we're launching one city per day. And every day that you will look at that, we'll be launching one more cities, including all over Europe and also our neighbor Canada, as well as Mexico City. And this is not about the speed we can launch with. This is our, that what we really appreciate is the welcomeness from the communities and the users all over the world. And what that translates into, right, that we served over 5 million users over the course of 15 months and more than 14 million trips. And that translates into our riders has been written to moon and back for 35 times. And that also translates how much of the urban pollution that we saved, how much gas consumptions that we reduced, and 4 million burgers that it burned. That part is, if you look at it, that just so fun to look at. Not only we get a user from A to B cheaper and faster, but also that they're outdoor, they're active, they are living in a more healthy and active way, and also by nature that our services are more social. They feel more connected with the people around them. They feel more connected with the city they live in. And we're the fastest ever growing company in terms of the revenues and trips and that in the history, probably. And here that I wanted to share a little bit more just beyond the stats, right? Then we look back to the humanities in terms of like the belief, the trust, the willingness to push the boundaries to make it happen, and also just the kindness that we were touched, seeing a lot of users that seeing a fallen bike and lift it up for us and put it in the right places. We've seen that we call it the alignment angels, right? The alignment angels help us to reporting the issues. And they may not necessarily even be a rider. They may never pay us. That's not the focus. The focus is that, are we on the same page to push forward? Are we facing really facing the challenges that are ahead of us that we all know about in terms of congestions and pollutions? And we as a whole, can we contribute our part and make it happen? And these are the photos that are from, we randomly picked from like Twitter, Instagram, all that, right? So we're not only providing a transportation for them to get around, but we're also proud that it's very enjoyable, that they're enjoying the ride, they feel more connected with the cities and their neighborhoods. And we're redefining it, right? Your neighborhood today is like 2x2 block that you can comfortably walk with. With our services, they can very easily get around that to like 10x10 block, right? And we help our user to rediscover the city they've been living. And so many comments we got is they came back to us, say, hey, I lived here for 10 years, but then I didn't realize how beautiful the city is. And that's what we're also proud of. And our user even invented like buzzwords like Lime Ride and Lime Dates. I don't even know what Lime Dates means, but seems like it's a good trend. And Then you look at they're happy, right? We're in the business of delivery, also enjoyment and smile. And interesting thing that I want to challenge the audience here to think about. If you search Lime or any Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, any social media, you will see a lot of selfies users posted, right, with their happy faces, with their pride being part of the movement. What is the last time you see someone take a Uber Lyft and posted a selfie? Anyone? That's the difference. The difference is that, yes, we're a mode of transportation, but we're beyond that. We're connecting people. We're connecting them with each other, with the cities, and we're providing the enlightenment in their life. And that's what we're really, really proud of as a company. And the other thing that when we look at it, this is Paris. This is real rendering of the trips that users take in Paris. One thing you notice is that they're all over the place, right? We take them everywhere. And my friend was visiting in Paris, and he was from France, grew up there, and with our services, that his comment was that I'm truly rediscovering the city. Rather than walking or take a public transit, which has limitations, that we help them to rediscover it. But meanwhile, when you look at it, the other thing we're proud of, and similar to many other cities we launch with, is that we're powering the mobility of many neighborhoods that even public transit doesn't go. And that gives our user the accessibility, right, to the places they can explore. With that all said, and with that all shared, right, there's a pledge we have to make. There's and there's also a ask that we as a company to make is we will not be successful without everyone's participation and support. And we will not be successful without the embracement from our riders, from the city communities, and from the non-riders that are being part of that. We are still scratching the surface of what we could achieve here. And today that, for the company as ours and other peers, it's not about the market share that we have for that 1% of the traffic, we are using on alternative trips. It's really about, can we make that 1% to 10, to 20, or to 30%? Or dare we say 50% of the traffic is on clean energy alternative means. So thank you in advance, and hope you're enjoying the Lime journey.